Part 71. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 704. When they arrived at the provincial capital, Taoran gave Lu Chunyi and Chen Fang 3 taels of silver each and asked them to go play and buy things by themselves. The two of them were so happy that they couldn't straighten their waists, and disappeared in front of them laughing and joking. Taoran didn't want those two people to follow her, nor did she want them to know how big her business was and how profitable it was. Along the way in the car, Taoran used her acting skills to convince them that she could earn $1 or $2 silver from a makeup box. The future of the G family depends entirely on this time. 1 tael of silver? So much, both mother-in-law and daughter-in-law were shocked. If you sell 100 pieces, wouldn't you make 100 taels? So even if the family still fails in the scientific examination, they will make a comeback, right? Well, in fact, deep down in their hearts, they didn't think that person would be able to pass the exam this time. After so many years of going back and forth for exams, they are all numb. Okay. Money is still more practical. Originally, they looked down upon the things that Taoran was playing with every day a while ago. Ji Chun even felt that being a small hawker was not worthy of the stage, so they were reluctant to let him make paintings and poems. Now it seems that this business can not only bring wealth, but also bringing a future to the Ji family. This article is pure and true. You have to offer it, follow it, and respect it. So the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law on the carriage promised Taoran several times, saying that they would listen to her from now on, and they would fight wherever she pointed. After getting rid of his mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, Taoran's first stop was the bank. She saved the first money for Ji Wenqing, 300 taels. In fact, this was also the reason why she came to the provincial capital. Big banks are reliable. With this money as a foundation, even if Ji's family is unreliable in the future, she will be able to live comfortably. The 2-day trip flew by. Taoran gained a lot. Not only did he purchase a lot of higher-end and better quality powders, but he also bought a lot of good spices. On the 3rd day, Taoran followed him to the county town. The house had been rented, not far from Sun's house, and it was relatively clean. 300 articles a month. The scholar felt sorry for the money and patted his chest to express that he must have worked hard to pass the exam this time. She took Ji Zioki to visit Sun's house again. After giving the scholar some advice, she asked Lu Chunyi to take care of the scholar and live in the county. Taoran and Chen Fang began to get busy with production. Once the colors are matched, it will be easy to use. In fact, it can be completed in a few days, but Taoran insisted that it would take half a month to highlight the exquisiteness of her makeup palette. On another incense-making day, Taoran's first batch of goods was delivered. The response has been great. Including the highest version, the one priced at 50 taels of silver. The pure gold box made of red gold and inlaid with pearls was blinding. After opening it, Taoran mixed 2 of the lipsticks with a high-grade pearl scent color to match the box. Even the small brushes are covered in gold foil. The whole thing is gorgeous and sparkling. This gift was not even meant to be sent to the palace, let alone the capital. The tea party that afternoon turned into a beauty conference hosted by Taoran. Everyone can't wait to get started and exchange their experiences. It's very lively. Soon, Taoran had hundreds of orders in hand. And in front of everyone, she took some of the banknotes and made them into sesame oil money. Her actions made everyone feel that this woman was a friend. Several ladies expressed their interest in being matchmakers for her. Taoran bluntly said that she has no such idea for the time being. Now her father takes the lead in everything at home. She will wait until her father completes the scientific examination. Everyone agrees. If this is a high school, why can't you find a good family? Instead of rushing to get engaged now, it is better to wait and see in the first half of the year. A few days later, Feng Er came to the door. He has been here several times, but he has never met Chao Ranran. This time he came early in the morning and finally managed to stop people. He expressed his feelings again. Only then did Chao Ran know that Fen Er had given Zheng Qingqin away. But this was not her original idea. For you. Wait, Chao Ran pretended to be angry. So, you sent Zheng Qingqin away because of me. Isn't it? You were the one who sent her away, why was it for me? I only said that I didn't want to live with her under the same roof, but I didn't say that I wanted you to destroy her, right? She is a scholar and a person with self-respect. You do this, what is the difference between forcing her to death? Why should this debt be placed on me? You are too terrible. Fen Er was confused. After a while he said. So, what do you want from me? He couldn't help it. If you want her back, even if you return her to the Zheng family, you can't let her be ruined, right? Chao Ran took a sip of tea. Her original plan was to let Zheng Qingqin experience everything Ji Wenqing had suffered. Being framed, having a bad reputation, being divorced, being remarried, being made a concubine. But now that Zheng Qingqin is not under her nose, it's not certain whether her revenge will be successful or not, right? Aren't you too kind? Fen Er said this and left angrily. A few days later, he heard about Ji Wenqing's trip to the provincial capital with his stepmother and sister-in-law a few days ago. He subconsciously thought it was a blind date. Feeling lovesick and unwilling, in order to please him, he went back to the wealthy Li's door and asked for Zheng Qingqin. Chao Ran's guess was right. In the plot, Zheng Qingqin is someone who will stop at nothing to climb up. This time, she successfully found an opportunity and hooked up with a guest young master when the Li family held a banquet. So when Fen Er found the Li family, she had already been transferred to a high-ranking family in a neighboring county. Now, without Chao Ran's signal, Fen Er himself would be unhappy. Although he changed hands with Zheng Qingqin to please Ji Wenqing, he also wanted to torture Zheng Qingqin. Now Zheng Qingqin is living a prosperous life, which is not what he wants. On the other side, Chao Ran also realized something was wrong. The situation of the Zheng family suddenly changed. They, who had been living with their tail between their legs a while ago, suddenly straightened their backs. Chao Ran inquired with Zheng's neighbors and found out that his daughter had become successful and that the neighboring county had just sent 20 taels of silver back the day before yesterday. Chao Ran knew that her revenge plan had been disrupted because of the unreliable Fen Er. She must do something. Fen Er went to the Lin family in the neighboring county, the same family that took in Zheng Qingqin. Rich Li was afraid of trouble and embarrassment, so he refused to accompany Fen Er. Fen Er had no choice but to come to ask for help. But the other party wouldn't let him go. The young master of the Lin family said that the person was given to him by the Li family. Since it is a gift, there is no reason to return it. And even if they come to beg someone, it should be the Li family. And he was very satisfied with his new concubine. Even if the Feng family spent money to buy it, he would not sell it. In this way, even if Fen Er raised the price to 100 taels, the Lin family still wouldn't let him go. This proves Zheng Qingqin's extraordinary status now, and makes Fen Er determined to get Zheng Qingqin in his hands again. However, the Lin family not only refused to release him, refused to let him in, and refused to talk to him, they also asked the servants to come out with sticks to drive him away. Fen Er was afraid of suffering a loss, so he had to leave first. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, so he drank a few drinks at a restaurant in a neighboring county and inquired about the details of the Lin family. He thought that he must get the person back and let the Lin family know this. Tomorrow, let's see what he does without anyone. By the time his carriage returned, it was completely dark. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 706. To go home from the neighboring county, the carriage would take more than an hour. As soon as it got dark, Fen-Er fell asleep after drinking too much. He was soon snoring in the carriage. There were many bumps on the road, and the two servants he brought out also dozed off. When they reached a section of the most difficult path, the coachman had to suddenly stop the carriage. The road ahead was actually blocked by a tree over a foot thick. Unlucky. He got out of the car and took a look. He wanted to ask two servants to come down and help move the tree, but he was afraid of waking up the master. After hesitation, he looked ahead and saw a small road on the right side. That's all, let's walk for a while from the path and then turn back. The carriage just deviated from the official road and walked onto a dark path. After walking on the path for dozens of seconds, the carriage suddenly shook, as if something was not right. The coachman quickly stopped his horse and went to check with a lantern. As soon as he reached the wheel, a sap hit him on the back of the neck. The servant in the car was alerted and hurried out to check. But before they could see anything clearly, they lost consciousness one after another. Fen-Er had just woken up slightly when a gust of wind blew and the carriage curtain was obviously opened. Then a sack was placed over his head. "Who? How dare you?" One after another sticks hit him. He repeatedly begged for mercy and expressed his willingness to give money. But the other party was obviously not moved by money, and seemed to be even more irritated. The punches and kicks were harder than before, this time they were all aimed at his face. Hitting someone without slapping them in the face is too much. Fen-Er cried and began to threaten. He revealed his identity, brought out the powerful people in his family, and warned the other party of the possible consequences and responsibilities he would bear if he did so. But the other party still seemed to be indifferent, and kept hitting him with his hands and feet. How could be? Fen-Er became more and more panicked. How could there be anyone within a radius of dozens of miles who didn't know the Feng family and didn't give the Feng family any face? When most thieves hear this, they will be scared to death, right? Therefore, the person who came here had a premeditated plan and came just for him. Not seeking wealth, not afraid of power? You are from the Lin family, right? Fen-Er admitted that although he was fooling around, he was also measured. He usually only fights with others and never gets into any serious trouble. Who would hate him so much? In the current location and what happened during the day, the only thing he could think of was the Lin family. Sure enough, after being questioned by him, the opponent's fists and kicks stagnated significantly. The subsequent punches and kicks immediately became more casual. Fen-Er got the confirmation and was furious. You bastards of the Lin family. You are so brave. Do you think I can't recognize you if you put a cap on my head? I won't let you go. I will sue you to death. You will regret it. My surname is Lin. Yes, let's wait and see. If I am good at anything, I will let your whole family be buried with me. Exiled. You pigs and dogs are a scourge, garbage that will be stinking for thousands of years. There are fathers and children, cough 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 cough. Fen-Er was cursing, but the other party suddenly hit him in the mouth with a combination of punches, making him unable to curse. He felt a soreness in his mouth, and then he choked on something. It was his own teeth and his mouth full of blood. The tooth fell out. Or front teeth. Fen-Er did not dare to curse anymore, covered his mouth and started to cry. The visitor finally left. Fen-Er pulled off the linen bag and found that all his people were fainted. He was covered in wounds and finally climbed out of the carriage crying. In the wilderness, no one was seen. There are 5 or 6 sticks on the ground. So many people came. No wonder his people were all knocked down without even making a sound. He lay on the ground and groaned for a long time before someone passed by and noticed them. Help! He was carried back to the carriage. He learned from the stranger that a section of the road behind him had been blocked not long ago, and he immediately understood that the other party had planned this. Waiting here early in the morning to ambush them. Who else besides the Lin family knows that they came back from a neighboring county and is familiar with the terrain here? Lin family, let's wait and see. Fen-Er was so angry that he turned around and saw himself in the bronze mirror. His anger was replaced by panic. The self in the mirror not only looks exactly like a pig's head, but also a pig's head with two front teeth missing. He is no longer charming and charming, his appearance is disfigured. In the future, how can he hold his head high among other young men? How else could he make girls fall in love at first sight? Mixed with sadness and anger, and overly stimulated, Fen-Er stretched his neck and closed his eyes, and passed away. The Feng family was angry. Although Fen-Er is not the only male grandchild in the family, he is the precious child of the Feng family. Is this okay after being beaten like this? How will I see people in the future? Why can't you seek justice? That night, they helped aggravate the injuries of the coachman and the servants. Early the next morning, the Feng family gathered all the servants in the family and took the coachman and the servants to the Lin family to ask for an explanation. Dozens of people lined up in front of the Lin family's door, beating gongs and drums and shouting, demanding an explanation from the Lin family. They insisted that the Lin family had attacked Fen-Er and his people last night. The Lin family was wronged, so naturally they would not admit it. They once thought that the Feng family was deliberately causing trouble in order to get back the concubine and take revenge on the Lin family. Until the government came. The Lin family was extremely frustrated. If you don't do anything, you will naturally be dealt with forcefully. They asked Feng's family to produce evidence. The Feng family reported to the police last night that the area where the accident occurred had been investigated, but there was no clear indication or evidence left at all. So Fen-Er simply insisted that the person who beat him last night identified himself as Lin. The Lin family retorted, saying that someone saw Fen-Er leaving their county after being drunk last night. Since his testimony was drunken talk, it was naturally impossible to do anything. In this way, one party insisted, the other denied, and both sides insisted on their own opinions. The backstage of both parties was very tough, and it was difficult for the government to handle it. As a result, the case was tried for many days, and the case was investigated again and again, but there was no actual progress. Instead, the reputations of both families were implicated. The government couldn't figure out the case, but it didn't stop the Feng family from going to the Lin family every day to argue. No matter how the Lin family explained that this matter had nothing to do with them, the Feng family ignored it, and it was useless to negotiate with the middlemen. They were determined to pin this shit on the Lin family. Of course it has to be deducted. The most handsome child of the Feng family is completely disfigured. In addition to his front teeth, the doctor also announced that Fen-Er's face would have scars, which would definitely leave marks. I can't breathe, I can't sleep at night. And the Lin family is not a small family. The more established a family is, the more afraid it is of such a thing. After 5 consecutive days of trouble by the Feng family, the Lin family's reputation in neighboring counties was in disrepute, and there were all kinds of unpleasant speculations. Several major versions in the market revolve around 2 families robbing a girl. In addition, the story that Fen-Er and Zheng Qingqin were caught having an affair had spread earlier, so the story became more and more censorious and gradually became unpalatable. The Lin family also became a laughing stock. The Lin family was angry. There has never been such a scandal in the family for several generations. After all, who is responsible? Naturally, it's still Zheng Qingqin. Which, if it weren't for protecting her, why would they have come into conflict with the Feng family? How could they have faced such a situation? The young master of the Lin family was punished by a ruler and made to kneel in the ancestral hall. And Zheng Qingqin naturally had to deal with it. The Lin family could never tolerate her. But simply driving her away will inevitably cause her to climb down the family ladder again and cause another setback. In order to prevent future troubles and to give up the family's love, the head of the Lin family immediately asked his mother-in-law to cut Zhang Qingqin's face with a knife. Now that you have lost your appearance, you can finally be at peace, right? While the Lin family drove away Zhang Qingqin, they also handed the news to Fen Er. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 707. Knowing that Zhang Qingqin had been kicked out by the Lin family, Fen Er's people immediately blocked her at the small back door of the backyard and dragged her into the carriage. Furious, Fen Er hated this woman who had repeatedly tortured him both physically and mentally. When Zhang Qingqin saw Fen Er's behavior, she immediately knelt down and begged him to do something noble. Fen Er chuckled. The Lin family wanted to ruin this woman's appearance, why didn't he want to? He really needs someone to take the responsibility for his appearance, and Zhang Qingqin will do the job. If you retaliate, you must retaliate in kind. Fen Er waved his hand and his people came forward. Then, Zhang Qingqin's scream was heard in the carriage. A few dozen breaths later, Zhang Qingqin, like Fen Er, was missing his front teeth. And she was missing not just 2, but 4. She held her 4 big white teeth in her hands, covered her mouth and cried hard. In this case, you have to calm down, right? Fen Er gritted his teeth and smiled ferociously. I want to see if any blind man would like you. With how good you are now, even if you are very skillful, I'm afraid there will be no market for it anymore. Fen Er also asked people to search Zhang Qingqin's body. Sure enough, this woman was no ordinary person. Even after being kicked out, there were still gold leaves hidden in the solace of her shoes and in her bun. There is a jade lock piece in the middle layer of the thick coat in the baggage. After searching Zhang Qingqin 3 times and confirming that there was nothing valuable on her body, he ordered her to be thrown off the carriage. Fen Er wanted to bring Zhang Qingqin back to his house to clean up the situation happily, but at this moment, even if it wasn't for Ji Wenqing, he couldn't let the Feng family have anything to do with this woman anymore. There are now all kinds of rumors about this woman in a radius of hundreds of miles. It is known everywhere that she is restless and having affairs with others, causing men to fight over her. He can't afford to lose this person. But just because he let Zhang Qingqin leave, it didn't mean he would let her go. Therefore, Fen Er took away all the belongings of Zhang Qingqin. You can imagine how furious the Zhang family must have been when Zhang Qingqin returned to her parents' home empty-handed. Their family finally had some hope of seeing a future, and now it's gone? Hating her for not fighting, Zhang Ziyuki wanted to slap this disgraced and shameless girl to death. You can also imagine how Zhang Qingqin, who valued beauty more than self-esteem, was so devastated when she saw her appearance with huge flaws that her parents spent money to get her teeth. In this day and age, dental dentures are rare. Those who can get dental implants are rich people, but Zhang Ziyuki saw that his daughter could not generate more income for the family, and it would be impossible for him to get the money even if he was killed. So throughout the night, the Zhang family was filled with all kinds of cries, threats, and noises. In the end, they all turned into threats, the sound of sticks hitting the ground, and Zhang Qingqin's begging for mercy. Let's continue to imagine, what will the Zhang family do when they receive news the next day that Zhang Ping, who is in prison, fell down last night and was seriously injured and needs medical treatment? Zhang Ping is the precious son of the family, how can you ignore him? So the Zhang family not only had to spend money to take care of things, but also had to spend money to treat their son. Ziyuki Zheng was unlucky. He accidentally fell while walking at night and spent a lot of money. Just like that, within a few days, the money that Zhang Qingqin had obtained from the Lin family to supplement her parents' family had once again bottomed out. The Zhang family returned to its previous depressed situation, while Zhang Qingqin was commanded by sticks and had to start working in the fields. During this period, Fen-Er had been busy repairing his teeth and appearance, and was busy continuing the lawsuit with the Lin family, so he had not appeared for many days. Taoran couldn't get it. Although he didn't show up, Taoran paid him a lot of attention. There was nothing I could do, who knew that what happened that night was exactly what Taoran did. After she heard that the young master of the Lin family loved Zheng Qingqin, she quietly followed Fen-Er to a neighboring county. And Fen-Er was originally within Taoran's attack range. She wanted to take advantage of Fen-Er before but never took action. Now, she simply found a way to beat up Fen-Er, and left various evidences to convince Fen-Er that it was the Lin family who had dealt with him, and successfully brought the Feng family into confrontation with the Lin family, who were evenly matched with them. How can the Lin family let it go if there is no undue disaster? How can someone who can become a prominent person in a place be just an ordinary person? The hatred of the stigma and the lawsuit are enough to make the Lin family bear a grudge. The hatred of taking away a concubine and the hatred of being beaten are enough to make Mr. Lin fight against him. Alas, Taoran felt that for a village girl like her, the only way she could bring down a wealthy family like the Feng family in the short term was to take advantage of the situation. Therefore, while Taoran was paying attention to the progress of the lawsuit, he also knew that Fen-Er had secretly plotted against the Zheng family, making Zheng Qingqin 10 times more miserable than Ji Wenqing, who was divorced and returned to her natal family that day. This revenge can be regarded as revenge. A few days later, the swelling on Fen-Er's pig-headed face finally subsided, his teeth were replaced, and his lawsuit finally came to an end. The government found someone to reconcile the two families. The Lin family had business outside and couldn't stand the Feng family's noisy methods. In order to settle the matter as quickly as possible, they agreed to pay 200 taels of silver. Fen-Er never cared about money, he asked for an apology. The two sides argued again, and the young master of the Lin family apologized and paid another 300 taels of silver. The Feng family gave the government face, and the matter was finally settled. The Lin family over there continued to be detained by their family, but Zheng Qingqin didn't know about it. She felt that her only chance was to go find Master Lin again. She didn't want to be reduced to a village girl who everyone made fun of and had nothing. She had to give it a try. He cares about his old relationship, and probably won't mind his disfigurement. If he's lucky, he can be his concubine. If he's unlucky, he can still get some money to get his teeth fixed. So one day, Zheng Qingqin saw the opportunity and ran away. She ran all the way to the neighboring county. As soon as she ran away, Ji Wenqing, who had been staring at the Zheng family, came to tell Taoran. "Don't be impatient," Taoran disagreed. "Just run." The Lin family would definitely not let her see that young master, and she would be asking for trouble if she went. And there is a high probability that Fen-Er's people are still following her. You know, she ran away again, she is still the unlucky one. Sure enough, after just over an hour, Ji Wen came back to tell him that the woman had been captured. Moreover, Fen-Er personally took her back. Fen-Er personally? That being the case. Taoran squinted his eyes, dusted himself off, and went out on his own. Taoran went directly to Zheng's house. When she arrived, Fen-Er was teaching the Zheng family in the house. After practicing martial arts, her ears and eyesight became sharper, and she could hear everything clearly. Fen-Er was warning them, saying that this time Zheng Qingqin ran away, and he only knocked 2 more of her teeth. If she dared to run away again, he would break her legs directly. The Zheng family was crying. They knew they were being targeted by Fen-Er, and they didn't even dare to get angry. As soon as Fen-Er left Zheng's house, he saw Taoran. He was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly came up to him with a smile. "Why is Miss Ji here? I heard that you and Zheng Qingqin were together, so I came to take a look. It seems that what I saw is true." Taoran glanced at Zheng Qingqin, who was hiding behind the door. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 708. Fen-Er quickly waved his hand after hearing Ji Wenking's jealous words. Miss Ji, don't get me wrong. I can't be free these 2 days, otherwise I would have visited Ji's house. How could I like this woman? I feel dirty when she washes my feet. You should have heard that Zheng Qingqin returned to her parents' home a few days ago. She has nothing to do with me anymore. There is a reason why I came out of her house today. Will you listen to me in detail? Fen-Er moved closer to Tao Ran with a face on his face. Zheng Qingqin couldn't help gritting her teeth when she saw Fen-Er's pug-like appearance. Where did I go wrong? I work so hard, why is there no reward? You have done so much, but the result is still the same? Ji Wenqing, why is this woman always robbing her? I heard that Mrs. Fen even asked someone to come and propose marriage to Ji Wenqing. Came here several times. You also said that the matchmaker has almost trampled on the threshold of the Ji family. Are the Feng family crazy? Just her? Is Ji Wenqing worthy of her? These must be rumors spread by the Ji family themselves to put themselves in a favorable position. I heard that Ji Zioki recently went to the county to become a disciple. Oh, I guess it was Fen-Er who arranged it, right? Fen-Er was so blind that he went to this extent for such a woman. Could it be that Ji Wenqing poisoned Fen-Er? I heard that the Ji family has lived a very luxurious life recently, and even went to the provincial capital for 2 days. What good things can come out of a girl running so far away? Maybe just like him, Ji Wenqing has been changed hands so many times this year. Only idiot Fen-Er thinks she is a treasure. He thought that Ji Wenqing might be very clever. He couldn't survive in the Feng family and was kicked out of the Feng family. Maybe it was Ji Wenqing's fault. The Ji family put their brother in jail and ruined their own reputation. This shows how vicious the Ji family is. What else can't they do? One day, let the Ji family have a taste. Tao Ran and Zheng Qingqin looked at each other, frowned slightly, and then glared at Fen-Er. You sound nice, but Zheng Qingqin doesn't seem to think so. As soon as Fen-Er turned around, he caught Zheng Qingqin's venomous eyes. He bent down and picked up a stone, and suddenly threw it at Zheng Qingqin. With a scream, Zheng Qingqin was hit again, and she was so frightened that she hurriedly closed the door. Fen-Er insisted on sending Tao Ran home, saying he wanted to ask for a drink of water. Tao Ran did not refuse, and Fen-Er quickly followed. He explained in detail the various causes and consequences during this period, saying that he would never have the slightest relationship with Zheng Qingqin again. Tao Ran raised a question that Fen-Er hadn't had time to think about yet. What if Zheng Qingqin runs away again? Do you still have to chase her? If the young master of the Lin family still can't forget her and comes back to find her, will you still have to fight with the Lin family? Zheng Qingqin is very capable. If she continues to compete, what do you think of the more powerful character of the Lin family? Do you have to be involved with her for the rest of your life? Your reputations will always be bound together. Don't you understand this? Can you capture her this time? What about this time? Are you going to find someone to keep an eye on her forever? Seeing Fen-Er's confusion, Tao Ran couldn't help but point out, to put it bluntly, if she doesn't get married for a day, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave her. I'm talking about marriage, not a concubine that can be sent around. Concubines in feudal society basically had no human rights, but wives were different. Their rights and obligations were protected by law. If Zheng Qingqin is taken as a wife, she can no longer be so casual. But Fen-Er felt that what Ji Wenqing said made sense, and he couldn't help but sigh. But for someone like her, who has no face, no reputation, no taste, no money, one of whom lives in the house and the other is banned by the government, who will marry her? Who is willing? Moreover, given the deep hatred between them, he couldn't make it easy for this bitch. Zheng Qingqin must live in hell so that he can be happy. Fen-Er followed Ji Wenqing in a depressed manner, and before he knew it, he had arrived at the head of the village. Suddenly, there was a sound of smashing, which startled Fen-Er. A closer look revealed that the two of them had arrived outside Guo Wu's courtyard. The drunk Guo Wu was being chased and beaten with a stick by his father. He was unsteady, almost rolling and crawling. He was in such a mess not only because he drank too much every day after his reputation was completely ruined, but also because one of his legs had not been cured and was disabled. He walked with a limp, which made people laugh a lot. Blacksmithing requires popularity and reputation, but Guo Wu was too embarrassing and caused the Guo family to lose a lot of business from nearby villagers, so the Guo family directly banned him from working in front of the furnace again. He has become a waste. And the more this happened, the more aggrieved Guo Wu became, like a puddle of mud, unable to hold himself up against the wall. If you have nothing to do, drink it. If you drink it, you will go crazy. If you go crazy, you will be beaten. The Guo family will be in a state of chaos every day. Tao Ran sighed long and long. I think Guo Wu was once very high-spirited, but now he is so depressed. What a pity. Fen-Er pouted, it's your own fault, what's the pity? Tao Ran, that's right. Speaking of which, he is just like Zheng Qingqin. He used to be the thumbs up of his neighbors, but it was his own fault that led to him being in this situation. These two people are a perfect match. Tao Ran's seemingly casual words made Fen-Er's eyes light up. Guo Wu? With Zheng Qingqin? Match? He couldn't help but narrowed his eyes. The two men looked at Guo Wu too blatantly and stayed for a long time, so it was difficult for Guo Wu not to notice them. Seeing the pity, and contempt in the eyes of the girl he had seriously proposed to marry, Guo Wu felt a knife in his heart. After recognizing the smiling Fen-Er next to Tao Ran, Guo Wu's self-esteem felt as if it had been run over by a wheel. They were laughing at him, even if he drank too much, he knew this clearly. Get out, he shouted. But instead of walking away, Fen-Er took a few steps closer and looked him up and down. Guo Wu was provoked and picked up a wine bottle and threw it at Fen-Er. Seeing that Fen-Er easily dodged it, he picked up a broom and rushed towards him lamely. Even the people from the Guo family on the side stepped forward and pulled him, but they couldn't stop him. Although the broom hit Fen-Er's lapel, Fen-Er didn't get angry but smiled instead. Guo Wu and Zheng Qingqin really match each other. We are both fallen people from the end of the world. How interesting it would be for these two worthless losers to pair up and torture each other. Everyone in Guo Wu's family is very strong. If Zheng Qingqin dares to escape, she will definitely end up in a terrible end. Seeing Guo Wu hit Fen-Er, Guo's mother rushed over and nodded and apologized repeatedly. She kicked Guo Wu fiercely and shouted to her youngest son to quickly get some clean water to wipe Mr. Feng's clothes off. Mother Guo's constant flattery, her flattering attitude and words made Fen-Er unable to bear it, and he took out a piece of broken silver weighing half a penny as a reward. Mother Guo shouted, I can't do it, but she took the money with both hands flat, bowed again and thanked him for magnanimity, and at the same time wished the young master all the best. Fen-Er followed Tao Ran, since you think they are a good match, I will keep this matchmaker. What do you think? Tao Ran raised his head and thought seriously before nodding, it's a good thing to help others. You help two families with your help. Your merits are immeasurable. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 709. Tao Ran naturally let Fen-Er take this logical step according to his own wishes. Otherwise, why would she come here specially? To be jealous? To make Zheng Qingqin feel uncomfortable? How can she be so boring? If she has this time, wouldn't it be nice to make an extra makeup box and earn a few more taels of silver? She just wanted to help Guo Wu find a wife. Look, with just a few words, everything comes naturally. The Guo family doesn't even like Ji Wenqing, who is married, and they can even sell their daughter-in-law who gave birth to their grandson. They are rotten from top to bottom, so tit for tat is basic. According to Chao Ran's original idea, he wanted to find a good wife for Guo Wu and a good wife for the Guo family. Chao Ran originally planned to choose between Widow Zhang and Zheng Qingqin. As a result, Widow Zhang was useless and failed to seize the opportunity, so Zheng Qingqin had to deal with it. It's good for a scumbag man and woman to get together as a couple. At least there is no need to worry about Zheng Qingqin running away or that Zheng Qingqin will have a good life. Chao Ran had already heard from Fen Er about her inability to give birth. This is a big deal. Mother Guo is eager to have descendants in droves. So from this point of view, we can basically predict Zheng Qingqin's next days. In addition, Chao Ran also discovered something recently. A few nights ago, when she went out for a run, she ran into Guo Wu, who was limping. It was past midnight and there was no one on the road. He didn't seem to have drunk much, and he was obviously sneaky. Chao Ran followed him from a distance, approaching the end of the village, when he suddenly turned around and looked around. Chao Ran easily avoided his sight, and when he looked again, he had disappeared. With her extraordinary senses, she heard a slight creak. The sound of a bolted door. In this village, there is no one Chao Ran is not familiar with. And this is the new place where Widow Zhang moved a while ago, no, now I should say, Huang Kuihua moved into after being kicked out of the Zhang family's house. When I climbed up the tree, I saw that it was already this time, and there was still a faint candle light shining through the woman's room. Chao Ran didn't bother to climb the wall, so he simply crossed his legs on the tree and practiced his internal skills. An hour later, Guo Wu came out of that house as expected. The door was halfway open. After Guo Wu glanced around, he walked out with a playful smile. Before turning around and leaving, he reached out and touched the face of the widow who was waiting to close the door behind. Be good. Regardless of whether these two people had hooked up a long time ago, or whether they fell into each other's misfortune, Chao Ran could not say that he had wronged these two people. Guo Wu, this man, is pretty bad. Zheng Qingqin in the plot is very virtuous. In order to win over Fen Er's people and hearts, no matter how much Fen Er goes out of his way, she can agree to any conditions and do anything without a bottom line. I just don't know if she can bear it when Fen Er is turned into Guo Wu. Fen Er has always been very good at handling such things, especially after it was confirmed that the Guo family loves money but lacks it, and loves grandchildren but has no grandchildren. He simply came to her door and said that as long as the Guo family married Zheng Qingqin, he would give her some money. Upon hearing the offer of 20 taels, the Guo family was immediately moved. Guo Wu is already disabled. He is disabled and drunk, and has a bad reputation and cannot work. If he misses this opportunity, he may not be able to earn 20 taels in his life. Why not let him be responsible for the continuation of the Guo family's heirs? That's Zheng Qingqin, who has a bad reputation. With a good reputation, he will marry your son? With all due respect, if your son is like this, it will be harder to find a wife as time goes by. Fen Er snorted, no matter how bad Zheng Qingqin is, at least she can read and pronounce sentences. Her family members are all smart, so the children she gives birth to will not be bad. If your Guo family can also produce a scholar, it will be considered a glorious ancestor. Not to mention Zheng Zioki. You will be able to take the scientific examination again in 2 years. If you have to go to high school, your family will follow the chickens and dogs to heaven and get glory. 30 taels, Father Guo agreed. If you give 30 taels, my family will marry that woman. Fen Er readily agreed, but there are conditions. You say. After Zheng Qingqin gets married, you cannot divorce her without my permission. You cannot let her run away from home. You must let her stay at home in peace and contentment to support her husband and raise children. I only ask for these few things, and I want them to be put into words. I want you to press fingerprints. I don't care about anything else about her birth, old age, illness, or death. Can you agree? The Guo parents looked at each other and nodded together. On the same day, they asked someone to go to Zheng's house and promised to give him a betrothal gift of 3 taels of silver. Zheng Xiaokai naturally looked down on Guo Wu, but upon hearing it, he realized that their proposal to marry was Fen Er's intention. He also thought that if his daughter got married, his family would not only have less people to talk to, but also one less person to eat, and more Guo family members to help. Farm work is not a bad thing. 10 taels, the Zheng family raised the price. Naturally, the Guo family would not do it. 5 taels at most. We won't talk about it if it's less than 10 taels. The Guo family informed Fen Er about this. The Guo family wanted to ask Fen Er for money, but Fen Er didn't want the Zheng family to take advantage. So the next day, news came from the prison that Zheng Ping had fallen again. The Zheng family, who were anxious to get money to hire jailers, took the initiative to come to the Guo family and asked if 6 taels of silver would be enough to hire them. If they give him money now, he will marry his daughter tonight. Zheng Qingqin didn't want to become a village girl, let alone marry a villager. She was still a disabled villager. She cried, made trouble, and hanged herself. But the Zheng family has already spent more than half of the 6 taels of silver they brought from the Guo family, so how can they break the contract? So, Zheng Qingqin was directly tied into a sedan chair by the Zheng family and sent to the Guo family. The Guo family did not play gongs or drums, nor did they entertain a banquet. They just worshipped at the hall, had a meal, and got the marriage certificate, and the ceremony was considered complete. Guo Wu didn't care about Zheng Qingqin's reputation. After all, he was someone who even Huan Kuihua was not taboo about. But he couldn't stand it. Zheng Qingqin, whose reputation was ruined, dared to insult him, humiliate him, spurn him, ridicule him. After drinking 3 glasses of wine, Guo Wu couldn't bear his anger and attacked his wife on their wedding night. Swearing at me? What kind of good thing are you? You are just an ugly monster that is ridden by thousands of people and abandoned by thousands of people. Look in the mirror. Zheng Qingqin not only screamed, but also cursed loudly. Her ugly words made Father Guo outside smash his wine cup. Not only did Guo Wu not untie her, but in order to shut her up, he stuffed her mouth with a cloth. In short, what needs to be done is done. Before dawn the next day, Guo's mother came and called. My family has a lot of work. Now that you're married, there's no reason to stand idle. Zheng's mother took a ruler and urged Zheng Qingqin to fetch water and make a fire. From that day on, Zheng Qingqin was followed by Guo Wu and Guo Mu. She is not only a village girl, but also the maid who does odd jobs for the entire Guo family. It took about half a month for the young master of the Lin family to release his confinement from home and find Murakami. Although he heard that Zheng Qingqin was married, he still wanted to come and see her. If she wanted, he could still find a way to take her away. Until he recognized the woman who was squatting in the courtyard while washing clothes, cursing, with a ferocious face, scary looks, and vulgar behavior. She was the Empress Zheng Qingqin he was looking for. All his fantasies of a reunion were shattered. He ran away almost without looking back. Only then did Zheng Qingqin notice the group of people leaving, and she saw the Lin family member. She wanted to chase, but the Guo family's sticks had already come to greet her. She knew that even if she could escape from this cage, all her dreams would be shattered. Thank you for your monthly votes, Brother Long, Reset Lai Huo Wei Yair Yu Wei Babies for your rewards, thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 710. Fen Er dealt with Zheng Qingqin and couldn't wait to find Chaoran again. Chaoran told him confidently that the scientific examination was getting closer and closer, and now everything in their Ji family was focused on the examination of the head of the family, and other things had to take a back seat. This is not true. The more he fully supported Ji's IOKI, the more he made Chaoran a little nervous recently. Fortunately, Chaoran is now more popular. In addition to the Sun family, there are also questions from several other big families. Chaoran also tried his best to get a copy and send it to the scholar. If you don't have enough ability, then you can use C tactics. Practice makes perfect, even if you just rely on piecing together things. No matter what, I have to pass the scientific examination and get a quota for the provincial examination. After these 2 months, Chaoran had a lot more money in his hands. She became a big customer of the bank in the provincial capital, with a deposit of 1,000 taels. Of course, this matter was hidden from the rest of the Ji family. And she also had her eye on a place to live in the county town, and if she could pass the examination, she planned to buy it. She became famous throughout the county, and even the female relatives of the Feng family heard about her craftsmanship. The masters of the Feng family regretted missing such a good daughter-in-law that day. Merchants are looked down upon by others, so women from large families have to do business secretly, lest others find out that the price will drop. But this time Ji Wenqing managed to get both money and maintain a high reputation. This is simply a miracle. Nowadays, among the female relatives of powerful and wealthy families in the entire county, there is no one who doesn't know Ji Wenqing. Her name is not unfamiliar even in the circles of female relatives in several nearby counties. Not only because of the makeup boxes she sells, but also because of her excellent reputation and profound knowledge. From cosmetics to skincare, from massage to skincare, from weight loss to exercise, she always has so many novel ideas. Everyone praised her for her intelligence, extraordinary knowledge, sincerity, and kindness. Everyone is vying to invite her to their homes. As long as she is there, she will become the center. As for the people who came to her house to ask for marriage, they came one after another. I heard that in order to avoid being disturbed, a sign was erected in front of Ji's house saying no proposal. Anyone who comes to propose marriage will not be received. The more this happened, the more Fen Er became interested in her. It would be such an honor to marry such a daughter-in-law. On this day, Fen Er came to the door again. He said he was here to buy a makeup box. Chaoran generously gave him a box, take it and play with it. But such a young master will naturally not take advantage of his sweetheart in vain. He smiled and said, I want 10 boxes, and they have to be good ones. 10 boxes of 100 taels, I'll give you 80 taels, Chaoran discounted. But Fen Er threw away 200 taels of banknotes. The rest is your hard-earned money. Chaoran pretended to decline, while Fen Er left calmly. Chaoran clicked his tongue, idiot. Why don't you give me 500 taels? As long as you dare to give, I dare to accept. Ouch, this money comes too easily. The recent sales have been stable, and the benefits of consumables trading have also emerged. The female relatives who use up the makeup boxes quickly have already started the second round of purchases. Due to purchase restrictions, acquaintances were required to purchase, which greatly extended the time for imitations to appear on the market, allowing Chaoran to earn a lot more money. Some cosmetics shops came to her door and wanted to cooperate with her, but she refused. She doesn't want to give up her intellectual property rights for the time being. Lu Chunyi and Chen Fang wanted to open a shop, but she refused. She was afraid of trouble and didn't want to cause trouble for Ji Wenqing in the future. Some ladies also suggested that she make her own brand, and they would help her make a name for herself. Chaoran also shook his head. She modestly and gently said that the popularity of the makeup box was a coincidence and not something she asked for. Her ideal life state is to live a free and easy life, as colorful and with infinite possibilities as the colors in the makeup box, instead of life being like this makeup box, restricted by this small area. When these words were spoken, all the female relatives looked at him with envy and admiration. This pattern, this understanding, this cultivation, this goal, this idea, it's really not something that mere mortals like them can keep up with. The wise sayings from ancient times to the present tell them that women should support their husbands and raise children. Look at Ji Wenqing, so confident and charming, so extraordinary and refined, so free and easy, who wouldn't yearn for it? Who wouldn't envy it? At a young age, he has taken on the responsibility of taking care of the whole family. Is that kind of responsibility something ordinary people can have? However, what does she mean by being free and unrestrained? Not getting married? Not having children? Tao Ran noticed some strange looks in his eyes and knew that these words were a bit shocking. If she stayed in ancient times, she would probably further carry forward this idea and rescue more women from trapped families, but she will leave soon. She couldn't go too far, and immediately added, being married to a husband and raising children is a way of life, which is good. But what I mean by being free and easy mainly refers to our hearts and our own behaviors, doing good deeds, improving ourselves, and benefiting others. The world around us is also a kind of life. My main point is that we can realize our value more, and when we say goodbye to this world, we cannot regret our life, and be able to say it was worth it. This sounded nice, and everyone nodded immediately. From that time on, she reached a new level in the hearts of the ladies. Everyone believes that she is different and detached. What does it matter whether a girl like this gets married or not? When Tao Ran discovered that someone on the market was starting to study and imitate her makeup box, she launched the second version of the makeup box. She has already ordered a series of brand new boxes in the provincial capital. All arrived last month. There are 3 models in total, with more exquisite outer packaging and completely different outer box materials. The colors in each makeup box are carefully matched, and each series has both a theme and a main target group. Inside the elegant mother of pearl box is a brand new pinkish pearl scent color scheme, which belongs to the girly style. The shiny gold-plated and sterling silver boxes, the colors inside are more noble and graceful, aimed at ladies. The low-key plain bamboo box not only costs only 2 taels of silver, but is also more plain and light in color, making it suitable for those boudoir ladies who are low-key, calm and restrained. As soon as the series was launched, the entire market exploded. Too many people want to buy 3 colors in one, but unfortunately Tao Ran only allows one to be purchased at a time. But the 100 boxes she had prepared were all sold out in just an hour. She still owed more than 200 boxes. Especially the bamboo box model has caused a sensation among some middle-income families. On the limited edition bamboo box, there is still a space for the ladies to write poems and paintings, and they can use it as they like. For a time, this makeup box became a fashionable object for ladies and girls to express themselves. However, Tao Ran only pre-sells 30 copies per day, so it is still hard to find a box on the market. At the same time, she also let out the news that her third version of the makeup box is also being developed. If nothing unexpected happens, it will be released next month. The speed of this update is too fast. In this way, many of the businesses that were developing imitation products have ceased operations. Several makeup stores that have made imitations have not experienced the expected popularity because the first version of the makeup box is outdated. After hearing that the third edition was coming, many stores soon gave up the idea of imitating it. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 711. Soon, Tao Ran did something that created a huge reputation. That day, all the ladies with some reputation and wealth in the entire county were invited to a banquet at the magistrate's house. After 3 rounds of tea, everyone understood the core content of this banquet. First, according to the county's plan, there are many places where roads need to be built. Second, the state capital next door suffered serious flooding and needed to raise funds. To put it bluntly, it just wants money. The two added together require more money and everyone's generosity. The county's donation amount last time was not large and ranked low among the entire state capital, so this time, the county magistrate hopes that everyone can be more enthusiastic. If the number and ranking meet the standards, the Yamen will post a red list, and will give certain rewards, exempt from taxes, etc. Taoran has been here for a few months, so he naturally knows what kind of character the Yamen county magistrate here is. It's no wonder that most of the ladies here were laughing after hearing this. But even so, she still donated 500 taels of silver on behalf of the G family in front of everyone. The number of 500 is almost all of my income from making makeup boxes for everyone in the past few months. I am willing to donate the money to those in greater need, she exaggerated in a serious manner. For a moment, everyone was stunned. The county magistrate and his wife all had smiles on their faces, and they immediately praised the G family and Ji Wenking to the sky. You know, this number is almost catching up with the amount donated by the richest family in the county. But she is just a little girl selling crafts. No one has such courage. But this time, those who had doubts about Taoran before could not say anything wrong about her. Her reputation in the county instantly reached new heights. And her makeup box order was once again scheduled for 2 months. Lu Chunyi and Chen Fang were shocked when they heard the news. In their minds, this was money they would have to earn from selling 500 makeup boxes. Doesn't this mean that the 3 months just now were all in vain? Taoran reassured them. Although this little money is not a drop in the bucket, it is just a drop in the bucket. My father will take the science and technology examination next month. Please think about it. I have donated such a large amount of money. Is it possible that my father will fail the science and technology examination? The county will taste the benefits and will not let me down. I definitely don't want this to be a one and done deal. In order to keep money from her for a long time, in order to win over a fool like her, in order to make friends with her, even if Ji Chun really couldn't pass, I'm afraid the county would squeeze out a quota for him in the provincial examination. On the contrary, my father's talent is well known in the surrounding counties. My father and I have donated so much money, and our reputation is enough. If this is the case, my father is not on the list of people who have passed the scientific examination. How much pressure will the higher authorities face? When the time comes, they are the ones who will be questioned and reviled. In the small case, he lost his reputation in the county, and in the big case, the fairness of this scientific examination was questioned. They won't even take this risk. Therefore, this money can be considered as insurance for Ji Zioki. After the scientific examination, there is the provincial examination immediately. The participant's reputation is also important. No matter whether you are apprenticed to a teacher again or in front of an examiner, you will always get points for impression. Even if you fail the exam, you will definitely be ranked high when you take supplementary admissions. So it is not only to ensure that my father will definitely get the quota to pass the scientific examination this time, but also to pave the way for him to take the next round of provincial examination. This money will not be wasted. After all, Ji Chun's fame is the greatest guarantee for Ji Wenking. From now on, Ji Wenking won't be afraid even if he lies down. In addition, the donation of 500 taels was also for Ji Wenking's reputation. If someone wants to frame her in the future, I'm afraid even the public's saliva will drown him. Even if someone like Feng Er wanted to forcefully marry her, no one would dare to do anything to her with such a reputation. Of course, Taoran also had selfish motives. The rewards in this world are definitely not the same as those in the entertainment industry, the interstellar world, and the world of cultivating immortals, so she still wants to earn as much faith as possible. According to her experience, donating money is the simplest and most convenient way. So, donate. And this time, the benefits of spending a huge amount of money were quickly revealed. When one day, overnight, many rumors appeared that slandered her person and her products, her reputation, and that of her cosmetics box were defended by too many people. It turned out that many shops had been robbed of their business, and they couldn't help but want to regain their market share. They tried to smear and spread rumors about Ji Wenqing and her makeup box. But all the ladies in the county, including the county magistrate's wife and the magistrate's family, are also loyal users of Douran's products. Everyone knows whether it is useful or not. Not to mention that the county magistrate's wife had just lost an inch from her waist with the help of aerobics taught by Douran. Who dares to say that Ji Wenqing is not good? She will be the first to stand up and object. What's more, a girl who donated 500 taels in one breath would compromise the quality of the product just for a small profit. As for Douran's character, there's nothing to say about that. Everyone trusts you. So this kind of smear campaign has not had much effect. Instead, the Yamen used practical actions to support Douran. Not only were the names of Ji Zioki and Ji Wenqing on the red list posted on the Yamen bulletin board, but the people in the Yamen also beat gongs and drums all the way to give Ji's family rewards for their good deeds. They received a plaque customized by the Yamen, they were once again on the tax-free list, and they were also rewarded with 300 caddies of rice, 50 caddies of oil, 2 sheep and a pig, and various other daily necessities. Although Douran disliked these things compared to the 500 taels given away, he had to say that when these things were swaggering all the way from the county town, they looked so majestic and majestic. And those slanderous rumors were immediately disproven. With the support of the Yamen, those who secretly make small moves can only shrink back and give up. At that time, people from several villages came out to watch the fun. Zheng Qingqin with disheveled hair, Guowu with dull eyes, Zheng Zioki with twitching face, they all couldn't believe that since when, the girl beside them had reached a height beyond their reach. Douran, on the other hand, distributed all the rewards from the government to the villagers. Even the sheep and pigs were all killed, and anyone who came to Ji's house to congratulate them would get a share. The villagers are relatively simple, and since they have received benefits, they naturally praise the Ji family a lot. The scientific examination finally arrived a few days later. When Ji Chun walked out of the examination room, he held Douran in tears. He held back a sentence for a long time, all the questions in the exam are the correct ones. Halfway through, I let go of my heavy heart, and after a few more days, I finally released the results. On the red list, Ji Chun's name finally stood out. He finally got out of the cycle and could take the provincial examination in August. After Ji Chun left, he cried again. He pulled Douran's sleeve and couldn't stop for a long time. He knew in his heart that he could reach this point because of his daughter's efforts. He felt deeply indebted to his daughter in his heart, and he swore that even if his daughter did not marry, he would support and pamper her for the rest of his life. Thank you Chuchen Shangzhenexin and Brother Long for the reward, I love you. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 712. At this point, both Ji Wenqing and the Ji family have made a huge leap forward compared to their lives in the plot. Douran knew in her heart that her goal had been achieved at least 80%. Soon, she will be able to leave. Ji Zioki tried it, and Douran also bought the house in the county where his sophomore year had entered. The scholar couldn't help but be happy that he had such a day. He lived in the city, he had the study room he dreamed of, and he could study without any worries. These things made him cry for joy several times. The house was painted and decorated, and Ji Zioki returned to the village with honor. The leader of the village set off firecrackers for him, and the villagers lined the streets to welcome him, singing and laughing all the way. The Ji family set up a flowing banquet to entertain all the villagers who came to congratulate them. What does it mean to honor one's ancestors and return to one's homeland in fine clothes? This is it. Even if he fails to pass the examination later, he will still be the first scholar in this area of 10 miles to be qualified to take the provincial examination in hundreds of years. Even though his reputation has declined, he is still the most knowledgeable person in this area. At the banquet, Ji Zioki told everyone that in a few days, his family would have to temporarily move to the county seat to prepare for the exam. Before he won the election, he could only visit his hometown occasionally. I hope everyone can help take care of my house. As for the few acres of farmland at home that did not require tax, he handed it over to the village leader and let the village distribute the future output. They also distributed all their livestock to the villagers to thank everyone for their care over the years. The villagers were reluctant to leave, but also expressed their support and regarded Ji Zioki as a role model for their children. That night, the villagers refused to go home for a long time, begging Ji Zioki to write one picture after another. Zheng Zioki from the neighboring village also came secretly, but he was in the corner, unable to do anything but look at the red-faced Ji Chun and feel sour and resentful. Ji Zioki enjoyed the benefits of studying. The day after returning to his hometown, he and Lu Chunyi returned to their rental house in the county town. After receiving guidance from several teachers, his output of opinions became sharper and his obscure writing style also changed. In addition, in the past few months, Taoran would deliberately instill a lot of new knowledge into him after dinner, so his horizons had also broadened a lot. In this way, while his self-confidence has grown, his articles have improved a lot compared to before, from argumentation to elaboration to expression of content and overall structure. When Taoran went to the provincial capital, through the introduction of a certain wife, he took some of Jishun's articles to a well-known local scholar. The other person felt that although the writing style was a bit unfamiliar, many aspects were remarkable and there was still great improvement. Space. Hearing such comments, Taoran also gained some confidence in Ji Chun. So the last few times she went to the provincial capital, she would look for books in major bookstores. In just a few months, the 3 floor-to-ceiling bookshelves in Jishun's rental house have been filled with books of various types. In addition, Taoran also used a little trick to make a proud famous teacher in the provincial capital owe him a personal favor, and successfully obtained the opportunity for Ji Chun to study 1 day every 5 days. In addition, she used her money and reputation to successfully recruit a famous teacher from the county. Ji Chun can go to class every other day. Well, private lessons. Ji Chun was filled with gratitude for his daughter's hard work. He vowed that he would win the exam, stand out, and never let down his daughter's expectations. So now, every day, he is like taking a shot of chicken blood, focusing on studying without any distractions. The day after the banquet, Ji Weining also returned to the county to supervise the painting and decoration of the new house, so only Taoran, Chen Fang and Ji Wenke were left in the old house. 3 days later, something happened. At another hour, a fire suddenly broke out in the small forest in front of the village. The intensity of the fire was extraordinary, and it burned into a large area within a short time. When the clanging gong sounded, it was accompanied by the crowing of chickens and the barking of dogs, waking up all the nearby villagers. Of course, this also includes Ji's family. Ji Wenke was the first to rush out of the door. Soon, Taoran and Chen Fang got up. When they heard the shouts of help and put out the fire, they also ran away with buckets. They joined the ranks of neighbors who were also running towards the woods. A few dozen breaths later, a dark figure suddenly appeared in the grass outside Ji's courtyard and started to pull at it. A closer look revealed that this was not a dog, but a human being. After another 20 breaths, the man disappeared. There was also an extra person in Ji's house. The visitor is Zheng Zioki. He can't stand it anymore. His whole life was ruined at the hands of the Ji family. This family is so bad. They framed their son and ruined their own future. But not only did they gain fame, they also gained profit. Are you kidding me? That Ji-chun actually passed the scientific examination? Joke. What a joke. What is Ji-chun's level? Don't others know about him? What the hell is that? To put it bluntly, it wasn't because their family was ingratiating themselves with the Feng family that they are what they are today. Without the Feng family's guidance, would they still be famous and wealthy? Ji Wenqing. Talented woman? Pooh. Just a vixen. What a good thing he can be if he seduces Feng Er into a coma. I don't leave home every day, either in the county town or the provincial capital. I go out every 2 days. I don't know how many men I have accompanied to get where I am today. I don't know whose support I got to make some crazy makeup box to make money. Ha, what a joke. How hard is it to make money these days? If no one helps, who does she know? Who will buy it? It's also those rich people who have shit in their heads, so they are deceived by a little girl like her. Kinkan said that Feng Er gave her away because of Ji Wenqing's instigation. This Ji Wenqing is very bad. To put it bluntly, the Ji family was aware of the threat from the Zheng family, which was why the entire Zheng family suffered so much. The Ji family took away everything that belonged to their Zheng family and climbed so high step by step. How could he bear this breath? How can this debt be settled? The Zheng family was destroyed, and the Ji family had to be buried with them. Especially after hearing that everyone in the Ji family will move to the county seat soon. By then, it will be extremely difficult for him to take revenge. So he had to do something quickly. Finally, the emperor paid off. In the past few days, the 2 adult men of the Ji family and the most powerful woman Lu Chunyi have gone to the county town. Now there is only a daughter-in-law, a daughter and a brat left in the entire Ji family. He didn't believe that a group of women and children could turn the palms of their own hands. This time, he will bring disaster to the Ji family and Ji Wenqing. His son was imprisoned, and Ji Wenqing couldn't escape. The Zheng family's reputation has been ruined, and the Ji family can't even think of hiding away. He wants to bankrupt the Ji family and ask them to fetch water from bamboo baskets. The most important thing is Ji's IOKI. After this time, Ji-chun will never want to take the provincial examination. He doesn't allow it. Ji-chun can only be a poor scholar. No, 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 he wants to make Ji-chun the shame of this village and the shame of 8 villages within 10 miles. For this reason, Zheng Zioki had his own plan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 713. Zheng Zioki thought that his plan was quite thorough. What happened to my son last time will never happen this time. He was very cautious and well prepared. He spent 2 nights, taking advantage of his ugly time, squatting in the grass on the outer wall of Ji's house, and cut a hole in the wall of Ji's courtyard. He was very careful, his hands and feet were very light, and he chiseled bit by bit. The sound was probably no louder than the noise of a mouse digging a hole. Sure enough, the hole had been drilled for 2 full days, but Ji's family didn't notice it at all. This is a good start. He set the time for action tonight. Zheng Zioki made a foolproof plan. He first took his 2 sons to sprinkle oil in the grove in advance, and then told his wife to stay there and light a fire when the time was up. He must lure the snake out of its hole and the tiger away from the mountain. In this way, the difficulty of his actions will be greatly reduced. You must know that the reason why the youngest son Zhengping failed last time was not only because he alarmed the Ji family, but also because the neighbors of the Ji family came too quickly, making it impossible for his son to escape or bite back. So he learned his lesson. This time, As long as the fire is big enough, it can draw away all the G family and the neighbors. In a deserted land, what else is there to be afraid of? Even if he is unlucky, he is not afraid of stepping into a trap like his younger son last time. He can carry out the plan to the end and has enough time and opportunity to escape. After the operation started, Zheng Xiaokai took his two sons to guard outside Ji's house. The fire started, and as soon as the three remaining members of the Ji family left, he motioned to his eldest son to follow them. The eldest son's main task was to follow Chen Fang and Ji Wenqing. If they see them returning home unexpectedly, the eldest son can either report the news or find ways to stop them. As soon as Ji's family left, Zheng Xiaokai asked his second son to stay outside the courtyard. One is to keep an eye on anyone who comes over. Second, if something goes wrong, someone can come over quickly to help. With such a backup plan, even if his plan fails, he will definitely be able to escape smoothly. Zheng Xiaokai was very confident about this. He planned to visit Ji's house in person. It turned out that the second son, who was the best at it, volunteered, but after thinking about it, he still felt that he had to do it in person. How did Ji Wenqing get the makeup box? From what ancient documents did you learn these things? What are the raw materials? What's the recipe? Are there any accounts? As long as he gets these and the golden key, after he finishes dealing with Ji's family, won't this wealth be transferred directly to the Zheng family's hands? That can be regarded as indirectly gaining back everything that was lost, right? By then, he will also go to the county to buy a house. He will open 10 shops and bring Kinkin back. No, forget it. Kinkin's reputation has been ruined. Wouldn't it be a shame to take her back? At that time, he would be a person of status, how could he make such a joke? All he needs to do is give Kinkin a few coins. Daughter, how about waiting for him to ask for a few more wives? How about a few more? It's wonderful to think about it. So tonight, Zheng Xiaokai decided to take matters into his own hands. No, at this moment, his second son is staring behind the ginkgo tree outside Ji's house. Whenever there is any movement, he will imitate the crow. Zheng Xiaokai, on the other hand, crouched down in the grass and pulled out the hole. After Zheng Ping was caught in the Ji family's animal trap last time, his bloody legs and feet really frightened Zheng Xiaokai. Zheng Ping's injury was so deep that his bones were visible, and he still has difficulty walking. So this time he completely learned his son's lesson. After opening the hole in the outer wall, he didn't rush in. Instead, he released a few chickens from his sleeves and rushed into the hole. Then he took out the fire stick and blew it, and looked through the hole. One lap. If there were a bear trap around here, these chickens wandering around would definitely not be able to escape. After waiting for dozens of breaths, he finally felt relieved and got through the hole. Everything went well, and he successfully entered the house through the window. Then, he couldn't help but snort. It's not like he hasn't been to Ji's house before. When did this family's life get so good? There is also a charcoal stove in the house, which makes it warm as soon as you enter the house. There are pastries and sugar-roasted chestnuts on the table, and even the cups for drinking water are in sets. Walking inside, I discovered that several rooms in the Ji family were actually burned with charcoal, making them comfortable wherever they walked. Will it cost a lot of money this month? Zheng Xiaokai sighed. It didn't matter, there was light as long as there was a stove, which was convenient for him. The house he entered was occupied by Ji Chun and Lu Chunyi. Looking at the desk, he felt sour again. Damn scholar. All I use is good ink, pen, and paper. I can't even use it. Pooh. It's just a waste of natural resources. He forced himself to ignore these things and quickly got down to business and went to Ji Wenqing's room. He couldn't help but sneezed again after pouting again. What a fragrant room. At a glance, he saw many half-filled makeup boxes and rows of containers on the long table. When I stepped forward and took a look, I saw that the container contained either spices or powdered powder. The most eye-catching thing on the table is a small box. He grabbed the lid of the box and pulled it up. He was overjoyed. It was not locked. When he opened it and took a look, his heart skipped a beat. The upper layer of the box was full of beads and hairpins, but when he pulled it open again, he found that the ones underneath were actually silver ingots. Damn, are you so rich? So much money and still not lock it? Although the purpose of his trip was not to steal, it was hard not to be tempted when such treasures were delivered to him. Otherwise, just let it go. You're here anyway, right? You've already made it this far, right? This windfall is obviously an opportunity given by God, isn't it? If you don't take it, you won't take it for free. As long as he takes a little care, Ji Wenqing will definitely not know that anyone has entered her room, and no one will notice what he does next. While Zheng Xiaokai was thinking this, he reached back into the box, took out 2 silver ingots and stuffed them into his lapel. Then he carefully laid out the pearls and jade, basically restoring them to their original appearance. Humph, even if Ji Wenqing found that the silver ingot was missing, he would only suspect that it was his sister-in-law or younger brother at home, right? Well, let's do it. Pity. He wanted to move the entire box directly, but who told him to do what he wanted to do next? Ji Wenqing must not be allowed to find out that someone has touched her things. He had to get down to business quickly. Only then did Zheng Xiaokai carefully take out something from his body. That's a bottle. He quickly uncorked the bottle and opened the rows of jars containing cosmetic powder on Taoran's table. He then poured a small amount of the powder from the bottle into each jar and mixed them evenly. 1, 2, 3, he kept every jar. He does it with concentration. He lowered himself with a ferocious smile on his face. Ha, go ahead. It will be 15 in a few days, and it will be time for Ji Wenqing to deliver goods every time. She was clearly in a hurry. Once this batch of goods reaches the hands of those ladies, the follow-up will be exciting. Haha, this revenge is finally avenged. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 714. You evil beast. Stop it. In the quiet air, such a male voice suddenly burst out. God knows how scared Zheng Xiaokai, who was holding his breath and concentrating at that moment, was. His heart suddenly jumped out of his throat. He shook his hand and shook the bottle, and a lot of the medicinal powder inside was sprinkled out. The long table was immediately covered with a dense layer of powder. As he turned his head sharply, the light suddenly brightened in the room. Standing at the door of the room were Muramasa, 2 strong villagers, and Ji Wenqing. At that moment, Zheng Xiaokai's legs went weak. How come? Where Ji Wenqing is, the eldest son should follow him. Why didn't Erzi notify them when they came in? And Muramasa? What the hell? Now, shouldn't he be busy directing everyone to put out the fire? Does he not have to worry about such a huge fire? Why did he come here? Zheng Xiaokai almost peed. And when he panicked, he subconsciously smashed the bottle with not much powder left in his hand. He raised his hand and threw the bottle hard. Ken. The bottle didn't break or fall to the ground, but it fell into Ji Wenqing's hand. She actually swooped out and caught the bottle before it hit the ground. Ha, how could the evidence be destroyed? Only then did Zheng Xiaokai realize that Ji Wenqing was so agile. Then he saw Ji Wenqing suddenly raise his head and give him a sinister smile. Under the dim candlelight, it looked particularly scary. At that moment, Zheng Xiaokai was so terrified that his feet slipped and he sat on the ground. This woman looks like a ghost. What is she laughing at? Why is she laughing? Is she happy? Could it be that she knew she was coming? Is she waiting for herself? Zheng Xiaokai suddenly broke into a cold sweat. The time their youngest son was killed, what they couldn't understand was why the Ji family had set up a trap in the backyard in advance, and why they had even prepared arsenic and everything. At that time, they had doubts. Could it be that the Ji family had foresight? But now it seems. Coupled with Ji Wenking's smile, Zheng Xiaokai felt as if he had seen a ghost and almost had the idea of death. Why are you laughing? Are you plotting against me? Zheng Xiaokai roared, grabbed an incense burner at hand and threw it at Tao Ran. Tao Ran screamed and subconsciously held his head. This time, it was Muramasa who suddenly rushed up and blocked the incense burner for Tao Ran. You Zheng Cai, you are crazy. Do you know what you are doing? Kun Zheng stopped in front of Tao Ran, while Zheng Xiaokai was controlled by two big men from the villagers, one on the left and the other on the right. Zheng Xiaokai shook his head. No, she was smiling at me just now. It was her, she was setting me up. Muramasa sneered and sighed, you set the fire first and looted later, and now you dare to commit murder? You are so brave. Really, didn't you see it? She just laughed. Zheng Xiaokai was explaining when he suddenly thought of something. Etc. Muramasa caught him and understood that stealing was normal, but how did he know that he had set the fire? Who set the fire? Don't accuse me wrongly. I didn't, Zheng Xiaokai struggled to retort, but also with a probing heart. But the big man who was holding him back gave him a kick on the back of his knee. No need to quibble. Please keep these words for the county magistrate. Tao Ran he. Of course she doesn't know what to expect. But who told her that her five senses were strong? Especially since she knew she was about to leave this world. Recently she had been trying her best to help Ji Wenking improve his physical fitness. At night, she usually meditates and regulates her breath instead of sleeping. So when Zheng Xiaokai first started picking up walls, she knew it. At that time, she also used Qinggong to go out and watch. How else to say that the upper beams of the Zheng family are not straight and the lower beams are crooked? Zheng Qingcan should not have any self-esteem, she just inherited it from her father. A scholar, a person who aspires to be an official, just lying in the grass, doing things like snakes, insects, rats, and ants, is simply embarrassing. At that time, Tao Ran estimated his progress and knew that at least he would not be able to finish the work that night, so he went back with peace of mind. During the day of the next day, she took advantage of delivering things to Muramasa and had a good chat with Muramasa. Muramasa never expected that such a thing would happen. Tonight, you will know at a glance. After it got dark that day, Tao Ran left through the back door of his house and went to Muramasa's house. Choosing the right time, she and Muramasa kept an eye on the Zheng family from a distance at the end of Haishi. When they first arrived, they saw the door of Zheng's house secretly opened. Zheng Xiaokai took his second son straight to Ji's house. After arriving at the place, one person dug a hole under the wall, while the other hid in the grass at the intersection and watched. The place where Tao Ran and Kun Zheng were standing happened to be in the blind spot of the second son of the Zheng family, so the boy had no idea. Muramasa was originally going to arrest someone, but was stopped by Tao Ran. They were busy waiting for Zheng Xiaokai for more than half an hour. When he got up, Zheng Xiaokai was all smiles and imitated a cat meow. Then the father and son met and quickly took a small road to leave. Tao Ran then led the village chief out of the bushes. I went to the corner where Zheng Xiaokai had just been working and dug out the rubble. Sure enough, a hole had been drilled there, just big enough for one person to squeeze through. Since it was not the time to talk, the two made an appointment to talk in detail the next day. Sneaking chickens and dogs, committing adultery or stealing, Muramasa said angrily the next day, I should have caught him right then and there. Catching him can only stop him from doing evil. Only by catching him really doing evil can we permanently stop him from sneaking around, he is a scholar with an unusual status. He doesn't even have to kneel before an official. He just digs a hole and finds any excuse. How can we convict him if we can just prevaricate him? So, why don't we give him this opportunity to see what he wants to do? Just take advantage of it? But this. Muramasa felt a little uneasy. Grandpa Fan, if Zheng Xiaokai cannot take the scientific examination, his future will be over long ago. His family is not willing to farm, and the whole family is too lazy to work. They will not continue like this. In fact, his family is the biggest in our villages. Isn't it a source of instability? Taoran had already grasped Muramasa's psychology. Don't you want to end it once and for all? Sure enough, this sentence completely touched Muramasa's heart. He had long wanted to drive away the family named Zheng. The last time Zheng Ping stole and harmed others, he had frightened all the villagers. Everyone denounced them and wanted to drive them away. It's just that Zheng Cai has a big mouth and can speak loudly, and he uses his status as a scholar to intimidate and threaten him. Later, when they saw that Zheng Qingqin had become the concubine of the Feng family in the county town, and the Zheng family was even more powerful, no one dared to offend her, so they tolerated it. Unexpectedly, Zheng Qingqin's reputation was no better than her father's. Time and time again, she became a big joke within a 10-mile radius. People in the surrounding villages couldn't stand the Zheng family, and they were worried that their children and grandchildren would be ruined. They wished they could get out of here. Especially after Ji Xiaokai honored his ancestors, he drove away the scourge one day at a time, and all they had left was glory. Therefore, Fan Kunzhen nodded quickly. Yes. The reason why the Zheng family can still rely on Murakami is precisely because the perpetrators of the Zheng family's crimes are not Zheng Xiaokai. As long as Zheng Xiaokai can be caught this time, it will truly be settled once and for all. Clean up the scourge and make the village clean. When Ji Xiaokai wins the title, these villages should be able to get greater honors and get awards from the government. Maybe the county can even help repair roads.